What's up, team? Welcome to the episode. Today we're going to be talking about happiness. This is a topic that I've thought about covering for quite a while now, and finally, here we are. How many times have you said it? I just want to be happy. I know that I've murmured those words too many times to count. Your parents have most likely said it to you as well. I just want you to be happy. Your friends and other family members have probably mentioned it. As long as you're happy, I'm happy, right? Now, I don't want this concept to be overly pedantic because I think that on some level, all of us are on the same page about what we mean when we say, I just want to be happy. However, I think that this whole happiness thing is worth delving into deeper and taking an objective look at. So here goes. Some folks say that there are 6 core emotions. Some say 27. I've also heard the numbers 108 and 34,000 thrown out there. But for the sake of this combo, let's go with the number 6 to keep things nice and simple. We've got happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Happiness is one of 6 emotions, meaning it is 16.6666 repeating percent of the emotional pool that we have on offer to experience. And so by saying, I just want to be happy, we're inherently focusing or hyper-focusing on 1/6 of the potential in our emotional lives. It's like having the choice to eat Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Moroccan, Thai, and Italian, and only appreciating the Thai food. And the interesting thing is that when we have Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Moroccan, and Italian, it doesn't take away from our Thai food experience. It's actually the exact opposite. It adds to it. The contrast is what creates a more rich experience of any given genre of food. Emotions are the same way. They lend themselves to one another. The movie Inside Out, if you haven't seen it, you've got to watch it. It's incredible. It's an animated movie all about emotions. And spoiler alert, the main character named Joy, which we can equate to be happiness, wants the little girl that she lives inside of to experience tons of joy. She does her best to repress the other emotions, especially sadness, because she wants this little girl to be happy. What she ultimately finds out and appreciates is that sadness is needed just as much as any of the other emotions. Again, they enhance one another. It is not a zero-sum game. Funny enough, saying, I just want to be happy is actually identical to saying, I just want to be sad. Except no one ever says that because we prefer to feel pleasant emotions more so than painful ones, which only makes sense logically. However, it's super limited. Now let's pretend that each of the 6 emotions is one of your friends, which they are, by the way, literally. But let's play this out for a second. So we've got 6 buds, and what happens if you pay a whole bunch more attention to one friend over the others? The others feel neglected, unacknowledged, left out, etc., and they might start to do things in order to get your attention, or even worse yet, they might just bail. And bailing you can look at as numbing. So I'm sure you've met folks like this. They latch on to certain emotions really strongly and just neglect the rest. And this isn't always just in regards to happiness. It could actually be something like fear, which has been super apparent as of late, given the COVID situation over the last 1.5 plus. Some people are incredibly comfortable marinating in fear, while others are overly comfortable with something like anger. You definitely know folks like this. They're very quick to anger. It's almost like whatever situation happens, their default is getting pissed. They actually look for reasons to get angry out in the world. It's essentially like an emotional habit. A couple more examples of folks that really latch themselves to certain emotions are people that are over the top positive and on the other side of the coin, bullishly negative. And to be honest, I'm not crazy about the terms positive and negative because I think that it's more about perspective versus positive or negative because we tend to associate positive with good and negative with bad, but regardless. How annoying is the person that is just 24/7 wearing rose-colored glasses and not willing or able to acknowledge anything that potentially just sucks? An example would be, let's say that you get a flat tire. No one likes getting a flat tire, and instead of the overly positive person just saying, "Oh man, I'm sorry, that's such a bummer," they're like, "Well, at least you've still got 3 good tires. That's better than none, right?" And you're just like, okay, fucking positive Polly. That individual is equally as delusional and annoying as the person that chooses to dwell on things that they perceive as negative. For example, let's say that you get free tickets to an awesome concert, and instead of appreciating the free tickets and the amazing music, the dweller chooses to focus on how the seats suck and the acoustics aren't right and the concert would be better if it was at a different venue, etc. Both of these folks are just opposite sides of the same coin, and they're essentially stuck seeing out of one eye versus both. Now, if we look at the word emotion itself, it provides us with a really cool insight, and that is, if you take the E off of the front, it spells motion, meaning there's meant to be movement and not stagnation. So we're meant to move through all of the emotions. We don't want to be one-trick ponies or two-trick ponies or even three-trick ponies. We want to utilize 100% of the emotional landscape that we have access to, not just under 17%. What's the best color? That question can't be answered, right? There is no better or worse color, just like there is no better or worse emotion. And the way that I like to look at various emotions and situations is, what is this emotion wanting to show me? What am I meant to learn here? Why do I feel this way? By letting things flow and keeping your emotional life in motion, it actually helps you to separate yourself slightly from these emotions themselves, because you understand this too shall pass. And when you can do that, there's no need to cling to happiness or anger or fear, because you understand on an experiential level that all of the emotions are necessary and actually enhance one another. Sadness makes happiness possible and vice versa, because without one, you don't get the other. We establish a new normal very quickly. And so pretend you got what you wanted. All of a sudden, you're happy all the time. That shit is gonna get old quick. Just how the novelty of a new car wears off, so would a single emotional state. Now, as far as what we mean when we say, "I just want to be happy," I think that what we mean is, I want to live a more content life or establish more peace on a day-to-day basis. At least that's the way that I think about it and approach all of this stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you see it completely differently, and that is totally cool. In that case, establish a perspective to take that works for you and your life. Now I want to share with you how I create more contentedness and peace in my life. And I just want to start by saying that I have a long way to go. I am not the authority on all of this stuff. I'm just sharing how I'm currently thinking about this happiness thing and my personal experience, because I'm hoping that it will be useful for you. Where I like to start is by establishing my priorities. And the reason being is, time is the most important asset in life, and therefore our priorities determine how we invest our time. And so essentially our life becomes a culmination of what we do on a day-to-day level. This concept is super clearly laid out in the saying, "Actions speak louder than words." We all have that acquaintance that we run into from time to time, and they're always like, "We've got to hang out. Let's make it happen." And of course, you guys don't hang out because neither of you prioritizes that hangout. And then you see them again 6 months later, and it's like, "Oh man, been so busy. Let's make that happen for sure. Like actually this time." And again, it doesn't, right? Actions reveal priorities. Another really quick and clear example of this is when folks say that they want to do things and then they don't. So for example, "I want to eat healthier," or "I want to lose weight," or "I want to go to the gym." And if they don't end up doing those things, it simply wasn't a high enough priority. So again, actions, actions, actions. How you invest your time is perfectly correlative to what you prioritize. So you can take a look at the last, say, 4 weeks on your calendar and the last month on your visa statement. They will tell you exactly what your priorities currently are. And if you like what you see, shit, there's no need to change a thing. On the other hand, if you don't like what you see, it's time to move and shift some things around. Being that time is a finite resource, you won't be able to just add to your calendar. And so that's where the ruthless prioritization comes in, because something's got to give, right? You still need to sleep at night. Now, my current 5 biggest priorities in no particular order are family and friends, travel, my career, learning, and health. A quick side note on why I think that health should be in everyone's top 5, and it's super simple. I'm not biased at all, by the way. The better that you feel, the more enjoyable everything that you do is. So the return on investment on prioritizing your health is absolutely insane. It's like compounding interest on steroids. Now, how does this stuff actually translate into my day-to-day life? I'm currently living in Mexico, so that ticks the travel box. I schedule FaceTimes with family and friends every week, and I'm also meeting lots of new people here and establishing new connections. My career is always at the forefront. I am super fortunate in the sense that this area actually doesn't require all that much effort from me because I'm obsessed with what I do, and therefore motivation, for example, is irrelevant. So the career box is essentially always ticked. Learning is huge for me, and fortunately that's paired up with my career because I invest a minimum of 2 hours per day, Monday through Friday, to learn, which typically looks something like listening to podcasts on anything that will make me a better and more effective coach. So that's 10 hours weekly. I also include my twice monthly sessions with my therapist and my once weekly session with my Spanish teacher under the learning category. Physical health-wise, fortunately, this is habitual more or less at this point, and I also look at it as part of my job description, so I'm sure to eat well, move lots, and prioritize sleep. And that basically fills my prioritization buckets. And if you're struggling to make time, lots of tasks can actually be batched or stacked. For example, learning, health, and my career are 3 of my 5 big priorities. Well, I can go for a walk, listening to a podcast, and all of a sudden I'm ticking the learning and career box via the podcast, as well as the health box because I'm outdoors getting sun exposure and moving. 3 birds, 1 stone. So you can pair this stuff up for yourself. That might look something like going for a walk with a friend if you have similar priorities to myself. So you're getting family and friends, social connection, movement outdoors in the sun. That ticks that health box as well. It sounds kind of simple, right? Essentially, creating more contentedness and peace in your life means doing more of what you love to do on a daily basis, or at least that's what it means to me. It's almost so simple that the mind wants to create a story around how it can't be that simple, right? I know I've fallen for this myself, and whenever I delve deeper into the why behind that, I find out that I've told myself that story as an avoidance tactic, and therefore I don't take action. It's just a story. I made it up because it is that simple. Now, I do want to distinguish the difference between simple and easy, because I was just having this conversation with a client this morning because she was feeling frustrated because she felt like this nutrition thing was easy for other people, but she had been finding it quite difficult. Now, to put this into context, this client of mine is down 50 pounds and she's working through a bit of a mental roadblock at the moment, but she's had a ton of success thus far. But there are layers to this stuff. So I explained to her that my program is very simple and incredibly straightforward to follow. But that doesn't mean that the day-to-day execution is easy. Those are 2 very different things. Meaning, the hard part is all of the inputs that need to be implemented behind the scenes. So essentially, doing what you need to do today in order to get what you want tomorrow is the difficult part, even if what you need to do is very straightforward. This brings up the million-dollar question, right? Why is it that even when we know what we need to do, we still don't necessarily do it? Let's use health as an example. How do I need to feed my body today in order to feel awesome and reach my goals tomorrow? That's where the tricky part comes in, because foods that aren't exactly conducive to you feeling awesome tomorrow taste so damn good. So we almost need to become temporary masters of delayed gratification and continually remind ourselves of what our priorities truly are. Because if we act in a way like tomorrow doesn't exist, when tomorrow rolls around, you're gonna feel like shit. So there is a balance to be had here. Now, if you're having trouble establishing your priorities, or this conversation just feels a little bit overwhelming in general, you can start simply by creating a little bit of space for yourself. For example, schedule in a solo walk for 10 minutes per day without any input. So no headphones, no music, don't even take your phone with you because it'll likely be too tempting to engage with. So no externals, just you and your thoughts. By creating this space, you're going to start to think uninterrupted. Your thoughts are just going to flow, and by creating that space for yourself, things will come to the surface and begin to be more clear. Now, if you do this for a week or two, you'll have over 70 to 140 minutes of uninterrupted time to check in with you. Now, one of the most valuable yet underutilized questions, in my opinion, is, what do I want in my life? And it sounds so simple, but when you position that question in regards to not just saying what you want, but actually requiring action on the back end of it to support your words, it's an entirely different dealio. For example, I want to lose weight and get healthier. Okay, great. Let's pressure test this want. What do I need to do in order to lose weight and get healthier? Well, I need to eat more healthfully, which means I need to make time to grocery shop and cook my own meals, as well as educate myself on what and how much I need to eat. I also need to track what and how much I'm eating, because if I'm not losing weight or I stop losing weight, I'll need to make adjustments, and I can only make adjustments if I know what and how much I'm eating. I'll also need to make sure that I'm getting the amount of sleep that my body needs on a nightly basis. And because my schedule is pretty full, that means watching one less show on Netflix each evening and establishing a nighttime routine that sets me up for a great night's sleep. Lastly, I'll need to carve out time to prioritize movement each day. And so when you start to dissect what it takes to get what you say that you want, it becomes very clear whether you truly want that thing. Because if you choose not to do what that want requires in order to take place, it turns out it's just not a priority. Now, whether you establish that it's a priority or not, that is a beautiful thing, because a lot of folks tell themselves that they want something. However, they're not willing to do what it takes to get that thing, but they don't disregard the want on the front end. They still tell themselves that they want it, and so they're just left disappointed and dissatisfied. However, if they acknowledge that they simply just didn't want that thing enough because they didn't want to do what was required in order to get it, that is amazing, because you don't need to play that game of internal struggle anymore. And I think that where people often run into trouble in regards to this stuff is thinking that they should do something. For example, a lot of folks think that they should eat healthier. It's your body. You get to do what you want with it. You're not a bad person if you don't eat a predominantly single ingredient food diet. It's just a choice. And so when you ditch the should and get super honest with yourself about what you truly want via looking at the actions that you're taking, it is so freeing. Now, once you begin to establish all of these priorities in your life, you begin to develop a recipe. And that recipe is your instruction manual to live a more content and peaceful life. I know it may seem like we ventured off a ways of the whole happiness being a flawed life goal topic, but we really didn't. What you do and how you invest your time is essentially what your life is and becomes, because what else is there, right? You can look at your recipe like a Google Doc. You can shift, change, and update it on a daily basis if you want to, and you will, because life is always moving and shaking, right? The saying, "The only thing that doesn't change is change itself," applies perfectly to life. So continue to examine and update your life recipe once you have it established, and that will lead to a more content and peaceful life. And even if it doesn't right off the bat, I promise it will with consistency and time. If you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and/or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. Follow me up on Instagram at N1Fitness, on TikTok at the N1Fitness, and feel free to friend me on Facebook at Marcus Sadu. Thank you so much to the folks that have taken an extra, say, 15 to 30 seconds out of their day to leave a review on their favorite podcast platform. I truly and genuinely appreciate it. Lastly, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found this useful, and I will catch you on the next episode. See ya!